right now. My kiddos are playing video games right now. So I'm like, I don't have work until a little bit later today. Figured I'd work on the arrows a little bit and then hop on live as well to see if anyone's interested in joining up. So as I said in the previous one, it's going to be a little bit more intermittent as far as when I can actually make videos during the course of summer vacation, because it is a lot harder with that. The kids don't have school and we're traveling a lot. So I'm going to try and continue to do what I can, but I don't think it'll be weekly. I got a couple that I'm scripting out. Hey man, how's it going? Scripting out, writing out, things like that in order to try to make some fun ones when I have time. But I'm really gonna have to try and make sure that it's gonna fit well. My day's been good so far, man. It's been going there. Hey, what's up? It's good. I had a doctor's appointment for my youngest today, so I had to do that right away, and then everything. So ideal pickaxe for armor video. Ideas, pickaxe versus armor. I actually did that one. I think it was battle axe brutality. I think I labeled it as, and it was this guy here. So this is what I used against the Brigandine. It did exceptionally well. This was actually a really, really cool tool. And that one was fantastic. So it was really cool to be able to test it. I have it in the garage now because I'm doing work on it because it's gotten, it's gotten a lot blunted the edge. So I'm just sharpening that back up before I take it again and everything. And so, that's the next one. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? So yeah, just doing some arrow stuff here, and then I'm gonna be polishing up my armor because I usually try to polish it, the armor and the weapons, like once every few weeks and stuff like that. Just to seal it and clean it and all that. Again, if you guys don't know, I'm just doing this real quick while my kids have a little bit of Nintendo time, and so if I do have to leave abruptly or one of them runs out here, then that's where I am. So, so I don't know how much time I have, but filming is gonna be a little limited. I have a really fun idea I'm working for on the next video. I'm currently building out what I would consider to be analogous to a predator body, I guess you could say. So I got this here. This is 4mm tanning leather. So the predators, have a lot thicker skin than humans and things like that. So I have the cow femur and bones and things like that to symbolize thicker, more resilient bones. And then I'm gonna use this as like the base layer for the skin because it's just much thicker, much more resilient than human skin as well. So I think that's gonna be very fun. Hey, I'm so glad you liked the primitive video. That was one of my favorites so far. I had a fun time making it. I had a fun time editing it and everything like that. My big summer plan. So we got a bunch of trips up to the mountains as well. We tend to go up to the mountains and then up to the beach. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. So during the summer, that's going to be where it's at. I'm in a really hot part of California, and so it gets up. Today it's going to be in 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It gets really, really hot, and so we try to get out when we can when the summer rolls around. So that's gonna be the big thing. So mountains, beach, and then possibly, like I said, possibly Germany for Gamescom. I'm still working that out because I actually am looking at it. That's the first week of school when the kids go back. So it's like, oh man, that's gonna be a big ask right there. So that's gonna be tough for my wife. So I will try to do that for sure. But yeah, those are the plans. That's the fun. And then I have one little getaway. I'm turning 40 in July. So my 40th birthday, I'm going with a bunch of high school friends who are all turning 40 around that time as well. And we're gonna be heading out there to like wine country and just forgetting we have kids and just being with our wives and everything like that. Spears with shake and then, that's awesome. Yeah, no, making the stuff with the shake and with the chert and with the flint and everything was a really, really fun thing. I had never worked with stone before or those type of weapons before, and so that was extremely cool to try and see how it reacted. A few people who are primitive hunters did say, hey, you overbowed it by a little bit because when you have that 130-pound bow, that's just a little too much power for that stone. And the other thing that a lot of people did point out too, which is kind of hard to show, is when you're hunting, you generally aim for the ribs, because you know it's going to be like a compound bow with a sharp broadhead and steel. It's going to punch through there. Primitive hunters were most likely always going for soft spots and everything as well. So that's the thing that is really, really, you know, something to consider as well. I didn't have soft targets out there necessarily. So that would make a huge difference when you're doing that type of hunting, because it's war of attrition hunting versus humane hunting, I would say. And so doing those tests, it was much more a matter of what would happen if it hit the bone, not so much the ideal situation as to if I were a hunter in that time, how would things shake out? It would probably be a lot of people, traps, snares, and everything like that. So that is one thing that I didn't really mention in the video, but it is an important point as well with that primitive video as well. So, so that was fun. I really enjoyed that. I fixed the spear. I got it around here somewhere. So I had another, I made another head. So I have the spear back so I can bring that character back, because I think that was a lot of fun, just the grunting and everything. So he'll probably be in a few videos as well, you know. And sorry, as I look here closely, awkwardly to read, they'd also chase out their game in mountains. Yeah, that's the one thing that they talk about too with early humans, and the way that we're geared and built is for long form endurance type hunting. And so that long form endurance type hunting is really gonna wear something down. You're gonna move into different territories, so you'd of course have to be very careful, because you're crossing over into what could be other apex predators areas. So you need to be smart about it, but you could just wear something down, wound it, and fall for a very long period of time. And that's one thing, just by the way that we're bipedal and the way that our gait is, we have the ability to just trek for miles and miles and miles. And so that's gonna make a big difference. Hey man, what's up? How you guys doing? So that was really fun. I'd like to try and go back again. I'm looking into getting some obsidian also. With the obsidian, I would certainly have to use softer targets, because the obsidian, while it can get an extremely crazy sharp edge, it's not necessarily going to handle impacts well in any capacity. And so that's the one thing that is just gonna have to be catered, and it's like, okay, what targets am I gonna hit? And that would probably be more soft spot type hunting as well, where you're trying to hit vulnerable areas to go into a target, not hit bone areas, the skull, the ribs, you know, anything like that. It would just be trying to get those to wound them, and then you can follow them off over time and kind of take them off slowly. So as some of the illustrations are Hunter, but they always show multiple projectiles embedded. Yeah, I think the big thing is, you know, what really pushed us to the top was not that we just made weapons, is that we coordinated extremely well, and humans learned to play together well. And so it's just like anything, right? That whole silly argument that caught wind for some reason, 100 men versus one gorilla or something like that, right? That was such a weird thing to take the internet by storm. I really was like, what is happening here? But it really is the coordination that we have, and the ability to go for long periods is gonna make that big difference. Because we can, you know, people and smaller groups and smaller things, the power of the horde, the power of the army is gonna make a massive difference over time, as you're able to coordinate things, plan, make better plans, better things like that. So if you guys caught, the next thing I was saying was the next video that I'm working on, which is gonna be a longer one, because I kind of already am scripting it out a little bit to figure out exactly how long it's gonna take to film the multiple scenes and all the things like that, is going to be, it's gonna be strictly Ranger versus Predator. I have all the different characters in there as well, and depending on how that does and how people enjoy that, I may bring out other things, but I'm making up what would be analogous to like Predator skin and things like that, and I'm gonna probably introduce some traps that I make, things like that, snares, spring traps and drops and dead drops, stuff like that. I think that'd be really fun to try and show those as well for the Ranger, because I don't do much like survival crafting on the channel, but it is something that I have done in the past. So I think that would look really good to have those different things out there and kind of show how they work as well, and how those traps can be built and how they can be used to capture larger prey or take them off balance or something. So those take a little bit longer to build as well. So I'm kind of crafting those out right now, so I can put those together and see which ones would look really good as far as what, you know, all of the showiness and cinematics and stuff like that. So the primitive one was fun. I don't know. I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works necessarily, or what gets traction and what doesn't. But I think that the latest one that I did, which was the different arrowhead types, everything, was a really, really interesting one as far as those differences, how arrows could be pulled out, the devastation once they got into the body, and everything like that. It was really interesting to see because I was researching it, and then I saw a lot of videos on YouTube about it as well, arrow extraction and what barbed arrows work and how they work. But I hadn't seen a lot that have been tested against like analogies for what ribs would be or humans would be, and how once it gets in there, that arrow as well, the tip of it does change shape if it hits something hard on the way in. So it's not just like a straight arrow that goes straight into a target. It hits, and if it hits something solid, it's going to go askew. And that's going to be a huge variable as far as trying to extract or excise that arrow. Because with the bodkins, they don't really change shape so much because it's a solid piece depending on what period, but the needle bodkins don't change shape, especially the later period ones which are used for plate that had that bulbous top head and taper down to the back. Those are relatively easy to take out of a target, but when you start getting those, those are going to cause problems. And once they go in and embed in that target, it's going to be almost impossible. Even if you just have like that fletching technique, like the battlefield technique, there's no way it's going to happen. The goal, the best thing you would hope for, would be a through and through. Because even if it just sticks in, like they say, once you try to push something in that's not all the way through, you're going to cause additional damage as you do that as well. Will you live stream more frequently? Because that would be pretty cool. Or maybe normal, that isn't shorts format. So it's so intermittent. And this is like, I may do it more during the summer because I'm going to have a lot less time to actually film. And I have time always just for like 30 or 40 minutes just to hop in the garage and work on some arrows and things like that. So that may be something I might do to supplement just to kind of stay engaged with everyone, because I love to post the videos and that's like my favorite thing to get out there and do testing. But it's a longer form process in order to do that. Taking the time, getting the materials, getting the supplies. And so, I mean, you guys have seen the videos. I've been trying a lot harder to try and make them more engaging and make them more fun, but it is time consuming for me to try and do that and script out all the different shenanigans and all that. So that's going to be something that is for sure as frequent as I can get it. So I'm trying to get, I haven't even started filming because usually I've been doing Saturdays and I have a couple in the chamber that I want to do, but I'm like, well, I don't even know if I have time this week to do that because I have family in from out of town and all this miscellaneous nonsense, right? Just, not anything you guys need to concern yourself with, but as far as creating the content and pushing it out, it's going to be a bit more of time to get out there and be able to make that happen. Have you seen the videos with the Robin Hood guy in Sherwood? Yeah, no, he's really cool. Back when I did TikTok, I don't think I haven't been on TikTok for a long time. I started there, but I switched over to YouTube because it was way more fun as far as creating the videos and the format and stuff like that. I feel that I've seen that guy. Sorry, back to that. I've seen that guy. We chatted a little bit here and there. He's a fun guy. He's a great character. He's a lot of fun. He brings some flair to the archery thing. So it's great. To me, the more archers or people that are interested in that medieval content, the better, because it's it pumps it up in the algorithm in the feed, I feel, because it's so hit and miss with YouTube. I feel like, especially lately, even though I'm still relatively new to like making longer form videos, and there's just so much variability in what gets seen and what doesn't get seen, and what gets pushed out. And so it's just like the more people talk about it, the more it pops up and the more people are interested. So unless like you're waiting for like a game to come out, that you coincide with, it's going to be difficult to put that in there. Morning question. Have you tried using weapons of bone? So I actually have some bone that I got that I think would make good weapons as well. I'm working out the best way to make it so it's not brittle. I think the only issue, with dead tissue is it is stronger, but it is more brittle. It's harder, but more brittle than live tissue. And so I'm kind of working on building that out because I think that would be an insane way to to take something down with the bones of another creature, you know. So that's one thing that I have on the docket. I'm just looking at the best way to make that strong and something that would be, you know, maybe not single serving use because I still have the older arrows as well. And so I can reuse those and I'll probably get a lower draw. So I'm not pulling 130 pounds. I'll probably make the arrows like 27 or 26. So maybe it's like 80 pounds or something like that. So I think that'll be a little bit lower speed so they won't cause as much, you know, explosiveness when it hits a target. War the Barons next year, LARP. Okay, hold on. Do you have a favorite intro of all time? My favorite intro, honestly, was the caveman intro. I spent the most time putting that together and I just made myself laugh a lot. Anytime I can completely make fun of myself and just be silly, those are great. And so I feel like that was my best one to date. There was a couple earlier ones that I really enjoyed as well with Rambro. I thought that that was really fun when I got the 100-pound compound from APA. Those were very fun intros for me. So I think the one, it's like a lot of times it's the one I do most recently that sticks in my head, but I definitely think with the amount of time that I put into the Unga Bunga Weapons intro, that was by far, I think, my favorite. 34 minutes of pure talking and learning. Yeah, I'm glad you like those, man. Great suggestion to discuss them. Yeah, no, I think that these are really fun to me because I think the reason I really enjoy the long form and have really strayed away from shorts as much is because the interactions are so intermittent with who comments and who engages with you. Even if the shorts get a lot more views, they're just not as rewarding in that way because I can't really discuss, and there's a lot of people who are extremely knowledgeable in a no, that wasn't a katana, that was just a rapier. So I'm just gonna, these ones here, I'm just gonna polish this and clean this here. So this one I haven't cleaned for a little while. I don't use it much, but it's a very cool, you know, little thrusting sword. So I might bring this out sometime soon, but they're just so malleable, right? They have so much flex in them that unless it's like an unarmored human target, it's really not going to show well. And I think that, thank you, man. It's not going to show well for like video, because I think the reason why I like to go with heavier, bigger, blunter weapons is one, because they're just more user-friendly. A lot of times in that they're user-friendly in that they don't take as much skill to really pull them off because it is a relatively straightforward weapon. And then in addition to that, they show very, very well as far as the destruction. Because thrusting swords, like if you've ever seen The Duelist, I think it was, it's like it happens so fast that you really can't see the actual impact of it. It doesn't look very good on camera, I feel. And so that's the one thing that it's a little unfortunate that, you know, it's kind of like you need to kind of create something that is bombastic. And I feel like those larger weapons create a more bombastic look to them. You know, a Renaissance character would be fun. I think I think I've been trying to think of how to make like a really horrible like French accent, but it's so bad. I mean, the Australian accent was absolutely terrible. Like it was bad. I was trying to edit it and listen back to myself try to do the Australian accent, and it was so horrendous. And so I've tried like the French a few times just to have a Renaissance character, and for that one I'd probably shave, like have the mustache and the little thing in the bottom there. But I think I really need to practice how to do that, or just embrace how absolutely horrible it is. Do I have any tips for YouTube? So the one thing I'll say about YouTube, and the one thing that I read one time that just stuck with me, is just, it's make a video with one person in mind. So I feel that one person I want to entertain oftentimes is like myself, let's say, right? An analogy of me. what I find humorous, what I find interesting to watch and see. And doing those and creating those videos makes it so it's fun for you to do also, because I think that so many times there's things that are trending in the moment that don't really line up with anything I'm interested in, and then people make videos about that and they do very well and all that, but it's just, to me, it would be like a grind, to try to make a video that I don't enjoy, hence like the fitness videos, you know? I think those do okay, but they're just really not enjoyable for me to make in any capacity. And so it's like, I want to do something that's fun for me to do, that I'm genuinely curious about, and I enjoy sharing it. And so that's how I've kind of crafted the channel. This is a hobby channel. And so I really want to make sure that is something that I really keep in heart, keep in mind, because I want to do these things. And I just reached out recently, like every now and then you get like fun little perks. I just reached out recently to a company that makes brigandine, and I was like, hey guys, listen, this is the big ask. I'm a small channel, but I would love to get some quality brigandine for the Archer. And so they were like, what piece are you interested in? I'm like, this piece here. So I haven't heard back yet. That conversation just happened the other day. But things like that, where if I get that, I know I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy sharing it and trying it on and using it. And that's what I really want to stick with as well. So that's the way to do it. For me, at least. If you're trying to make money on YouTube, I don't have good advice there. Don't listen to me. You just, do a stupid dance or something. I don't know, make a fool of yourself in public. That seems to be the going currency on the trending page in YouTube, but that's not something I have a real interest in. Also, can we ask anything, or is there a theme? No, I've never done a theme. These talks that I've done here range all over the place. A lot of times they go Star Wars, a little bit of fitness, sometimes Warhammer, sci-fi, medieval. It's really just whatever people want to ask about. I think I've seen YouTubers that have like a theme, or they react to videos when they do a live stream. That is literally not at all what it is. I just do some workout here and then have a conversation with whatever you guys are curious about. Blood for the Blood God. There they are. They're the Warhammer fans. Canon or Legends Star Wars? So Legends for sure. I consider Legends to be canon in that way. I don't really adhere to the new canon. I think that I just kind of turned my brain off after the new trilogy came out, and I just like, you know what? I'm happy with what I'm happy with. I'm the same at a restaurant. If I go to a restaurant, I'll get the same thing every time because I know I like it. And I'm like, I don't think I need the new Star Wars here. Aside from Andor, which was one of the most compelling things I think I've seen in quite some time. That was amazing, but the rest of it is just not interesting to me at all, L'Oreal sponsorship, I don't know, man. Does anyone know anyone out there? Because I 100% will do that. I will make it fun and funny. I will make fun of myself, and I will very much take the funding they give me for hair placement and make that a great weapons funnel where I can buy more fun, cool stuff from there. I would love to try horse archery one day, but I do need to learn to ride a horse well. That's one skill I certainly have never mastered nor taken the time to learn. It would be amazing to try and master, but I think, unfortunately, I just haven't made the time for that. So maybe I will one of these days, but it's going to be some time before I do that. Where to get Europe from where? So a lot of the swords that I get from Cult of Athena, and Cult of Athena is like a hub where a lot of different manufacturers send their swords and weapons to. So the most expensive sword that I do have is this one here, this Spatha. This is from Albion. So they're obviously very well known. They make great quality swords and everything as well. Some of the other stuff that you get there from Cult of Athena is like Windless Crafts, and that's in India. So they are, the steel is pretty good, but the blade construction and stuff leaves to be desired. A lot of times it's got the rat tail, it's got other problems. They don't wear super well. I have a few things from Cold Steel. They're decent mid-level entry, but I think they are getting overpriced for what they provide. And And so it's not great. Also been your favorite on location video to make? So my favorite video that I got to make probably was when I first got the 100-pound compound bow from APA Archery. I was genuinely flabbergasted, first of all, that they sent that to me in order to do. So I you know, this is all still very new to me. So I reached out to the APA and I was like, listen, I know you guys make the most powerful commercial compound bow on the market. I have this channel. Would you guys be willing to send me a bow to try? And they got back and they said, we saw your page, we love your stuff, we would love to send it to you. And then the person who made the arrows from Bishop Archery, he's a guy out in Minnesota, I think. They make those very heavy duty specialized arrows. He reached out to me directly too. He's like, hey, I saw the video, would you want some more arrows? And so it was just this culmination of people coming together to help me make a video. And I was like floored by it and being able to do those tests. And then after I did that test, when I had the 1.5 millimeter hardened steel from Dequeedum that he had sent to me and it punched into that steel, I sent him a picture and I was like, man, can you believe this happened? He's like, no effing way, there's no way. And so it was just a couple of things coming together and the results were spectacular for me. And so it was very cool to do, very fun to share. And so I was honored. It was just a gift from a lot of different people to be able to put that together and share. I know of him for sure. And so I've never reached out. I'm really like new about trying to find other YouTubers and try and collaborate with them. I don't know the best way to get in touch with a lot of different people. I just try to be like, hey, you know, I reach out to them on YouTube because most people don't, you know, check their Instagram or whatever, and they don't have an email. So I have a hard time, but I've seen his stuff and that slingshot stuff he does is crazy. How powerful he can get it and how well he's able to put that together. So I really enjoy his stuff, but I've never reached out. And again, travel is unfortunately not really a big possibility for most of my life right now. So I just try and do what I can when I can. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't know. I've never talked to Metatron directly. I know he's been kind enough to react to some of my stuff. And so I've tried to find a way to reach out to him like on Facebook or something like that, or Instagram, but I don't think he checks those very much. And then is the HEMA, what do you do? And so that's where I do it. So regarding the HEMA thing, I don't know if he's asking what I do on the channel. It's all basically 90% archery and slingshot. That's where I tend to do, that's my wheelhouse right there. You know how to contact him? Well, if you can send it to me on Instagram or something personal, I would love to reach out to him because I would love to do a video with him regarding the sling. Because I don't think he's covered it a little bit, but I would love to see if he has any questions about the functions and operations and different armor tests and stuff. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. So I think that'd be really fun to try and, you know, talk with him about it. And then he provides the academic background and I can do a bit of the physical background because I'm, you know, as you know, much more of a smash guy, you know. Are you in a beach? Yeah. No, this is my garage actually. So I trained jiu-jitsu for a large portion of my life. Had to take a little break just because I have 3 little kiddos. But this is where I do some training periodically when I can and store a lot of my weapons when they need to be cleaned and everything like that. So jiu-jitsu and wrestling and everything has always been a part of what I do, but I never trained HEMA necessarily. So, you know, if I do go to meet with Dequeedum in Germany, which is still kind of the goal when I go out there for Gamescom, I'd be really curious to see, because I'm game for anything, and I'll throw down 100%. And I'd love to see, you know, how he responds to that, because he's an excellent martial artist, and I've seen his grappling, and it's pretty good as well. But I'm curious if it gets to the ground, if I'd be able in armor to do anything against what he does when weapons are in play and everything like that, you know? You don't do striking martial arts? Yeah, I did boxing for a long time. That's before I met my wife. I did amateur boxing and everything like that. Never like MMA ground and pound stuff, but it's just, hey, thanks, I appreciate that, man. So I did that for quite a bit, but I just got tired of getting hit in the face, you know, and I would just, my nose got all messed up, and then, you know, you just get your mouth, like, the thing that sucks the most about boxing is just how much it hurts to chew for the next few days. If you have you know, an amateur bout or a, you know, strong sparring match, it's just, it really is a bummer, you know. I just hated that. I hated not being able to chew, or, you know, it hurting to like move your jaw around, because I did it, but I was not very good at it. So I got hit a lot, you know, but I enjoyed it. Now that I'm older, I just don't like taking the damage in the head. You know, I think that that stuff sticks. So I like jiu-jitsu and wrestling because it is a lot more low impact than that as well. Hey, that'd be great, man. I appreciate that. So that's going to be in the cards. I'm still talking to my wife to make that trip happen. Again, like I said, it's a huge ask to go to Germany for that time, but it's something there. Yeah, no. So the head hurt is not something I want to stick to doing. It's fun to do, but not something that I want to do for my long period in life. Obviously, my kids, I have them in jiu-jitsu as well, so they enjoy that, and that's a greater like shallow pool to get people going in right away. It teaches really good skills and discipline and just protection. But starting kids out in boxing, like those Thai gyms and everything, where those kids are just savages coming out of the gate, that's crazy to me. I mean, it's good for them, and it's admirable, but it's still just like, oh, I that's a straight old school warrior right there. Those Thai gyms and those people who train from a young age there are just crazy. On sword sharpening and care, what sports would you like? Um, would you fight on Misfits? I don't know what Misfits is. Tell me what that is, but I'll fight just about anywhere. I don't, honestly, I've done it enough in my life to where I'm not anxious about it necessarily. Um, but it's something where it's like, just making the time to go places and things like that. My favorite BJJ submission to get someone, I like to just try and control more than go for submissions as much as possible. So it's like old school Gracie, you know, where I think much of my mentality is control the position, control the top. I like to hit sweeps. I love takedowns as well. I think takedowns are amazing. And that's, I think, my favorite thing to do is get just a solid hip throw, or any of those, or, you know, that's magical to me. If I get someone in a submission, I usually like to be in control on the top, so it's going to be something like a Kimura or an Americana, where it's relatively simple and straightforward, just a joint lock. I got later into a lot more of the inverted guard as well, so I got really good at doing Granby rolls and moving around that way. So an inverted triangle where you kind of flip around from there. Those are fun and flashy. I liked trying spider guard when it was gi, because there's some pretty slick stuff you can do from spider guard, or even getting into X guard. So I liked, as I did it more, I liked being a little more on the bottom and try and hit those sweeps. But for me, it was much more about trying to be in control, and go from there. And so it's just whatever I can get at that point is great. But I never really was great at doing chained submissions. It was a much slower game for me, where I wouldn't chain 1, 2, 3, 4 into a submission. It would be a slower grind where you pressure, move, try to get try to get the side control, half guard, pass, and then try to get a submission from there. Mount's a little ambitious a lot of times if someone's pretty good, but trying to get those done at that point where I have a good control, I like that, as opposed to sequencing into a submission. Did you do, sorry, I'm reading, sorry. Did you do some sparring when you mixed striking and jiu-jitsu rules or whatever? Just with my cousin. My cousin, he was, we always did it together. He was a little bit younger than me, like a year or so, but we were pretty evenly matched in everything. So we would add a little bit in there. But when I went to a BJJ school and trained that, I didn't do like a class that mixed the slapping and the striking. I've seen that in some tournaments. And then, you know, I would do striking on its own as well when it was just boxing, but I didn't really combine the two that often. So I think if I were to say there's like a hole in my knowledge, it's going to be being cognizant of when you're in danger if you're on the bottom or something like that, because that's not something I really think about as a whole. I think in that mixed martial arts world, if I were to say, hey, where's a flaw in your game plan, I would say it's probably anticipating the strike from the bottom, because that's not something that often goes in my mind. As far as short sword care and sharpening and things like that, I may do that. When I did the unsubscribed podcast a couple weeks ago, and that's going up in 2 weeks, I think they said, one thing they told me was just like, hey, try and save the bombastic and the fun content for the main page, and the things that don't do as well, you can do that on a Patreon or members only, I guess, right? So like when I do sword care and arrow building and things like that, those tend not to do well. And I think that hurts like your, you know, it hurts in your algorithm, you know, replayability or something like that. So I think I'm gonna start doing those and editing those up as well. But it's more about making sure the ones you put out there are the attention grabbers, and the people who really want to see it are interested in that thing more. You can kind of put those in a different area where it's not going to affect like last watched and all that, because they were like a wealth of knowledge. They do all this YouTube research and things like that. And so they were telling me a few things, trying to be very helpful about how that works. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I may do a full arrow making video, sword care, armor care, things of that nature, because those can be fun and fun to share as well, you know. What's up? How you doing? Yeah, the low view stuff can't hurt. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think maybe live streaming something like this would be good as well. Back to the sharpening question. It depends the type of weapon that I am sharpening. So if I'm doing like an axe or a blunter weapon where it's got more of an edge I can play around with, I have a fine grinder where I start the process there. Or even the bodkins and the arrowheads. The bodkins don't need like that super tapered fine point, so I start to whittle it down there, and then I'll use like a whetstone after that to get that final edge on it there. I know that there's like the leather tooling and everything to get like that really, really amazing edge. But a lot of the stuff I do when I'm hitting hard armor and stuff like that, it's just like, they blunt so quickly, and a sharp edge isn't gonna make much of a difference. So I tend to try and just get a good edge on it so it's sturdy and stable. And then from there, I'll fine tune it based on what it is. Hey, what's up, guys? And so with that as well, axes start that way. When it's something more like this, which is the one from Albion, which is the Spatha, I would never touch this with a grinder. You know, obviously it's too nice of a sword. And so this is simply done with like a whetstone. So I'll go through and see where I feel that it's gone blunted. So up here at the top, obviously I can tell that's a little bit blunter, and then down here at the bottom where it doesn't hit as much, that's still very sharp. So I'll work on the top here to sharpen that back up and get the tip as well, because you know this can be a slashing, thrusting sword, but it does have a very powerful thrust, and it's very rigid because the steel is a good quality steel. It's a high HCR, so it does well with those. So I tend to try and keep the edge as good as possible and just maintain it that way. Sharpening blades. Yeah, no, definitely. Arrows, not as much, because thankfully for me, most of what I do are bodkins and they are armor piercing rounds. So you really just need to get enough to where you can have a solid taper in there to a point. It's not as much as the edged arrows, like the barbed arrows that I have. Those take more time to sharpen for sure. when you have those. Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's the goal, is positive vibes, 100%. I joke that I want my channel to be like Mr. Rogers, but with ancient weapons, you know. No cursing, nothing like that. Just having fun, trying to learn something and share what I learn without any real historical slants or modern day anything. I think that's the goal that I have, is just trying to create a fantasy world that has none of the exterior, you know, drama that comes with anything. How do you deal with videos performing bad even though you put loads of effort into it? Those do suck, I'll tell you that much. Like, I think that one of my favorite videos of all time that I did was the second Wasteland Apocalypse video, where I spent a ton of time making all those custom weapons. And that was probably the most intensive as far as scripting it out, different characters, trying to build up a little shop and everything. And that one did not do good at all, you know? And so I was a little bummed about it, but I think the thing that kind of is enjoyable to me is the people who see it and like it, they very much like it, right? And so it's, if this was a career and I didn't have an actual outside job, it's like, if that was tough, that would be really difficult for me to observe it. But as it goes for now, if it doesn't perform well, it's just like, dang it, that sucks. I had a lot of fun, and I want more people to share in it, because I feel like the stuff that I do share is fun and lighthearted and just like kind of an escape from all the drama that's out there on YouTube. But if it doesn't do well, it's just kind of a bummer, you know, I guess I can say. But I don't lose sleep over it. I'm always like, every day, every time when it's like time to post, I know that like the night before I'm super excited, because I love just to share it. You know, I want to see how people react, if they get a laugh out of it, if they have fun, if they learn something. You know, that's the thing that I enjoy the most. It's not necessarily, I don't spend all that time on like YouTube Studio. Like, I think there's like a revenue tab. I'm not there like, how much should I make? How much should I make? You know? But I do have to be very cautious, where I'm not really, I make like, you know, 20 bucks a video. So I'm happy I've been using those ribs, because the budget on the channel is small, as opposed to Ballistic Dummies. Because it would be a lot harder for me to manage that if I spent a ton of money on the videos. But I think more than anything, I have fun just writing it out and acting it out and testing it out. And so that's the thing that is enjoyable for me. And so I just need to just be careful with how I spend money, because I know I'm not gonna make it back if I spend like 200 bucks on a ballistic dummy head. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I know that if I can create something somewhat analogous, and I can share that, and people have a good time with that, then I've succeeded, you know? The stress of being all day controlling revenue and engagement isn't, I agree, it really is not. And I think that the ribs are a lot better than the dummies as well, because I've used ballistic dummies in the past, and I will say they are brittle as heck. I think if you drop a ballistic dummy on the ground, like, the skull's gonna crack, and people are not that fragile or frail. They work great for ballistics and guns and things, but even for arrows, they're terrible because they're so tacky. Hey, thanks guys. Geez, for people who just donated, thank you. You guys are incredibly kind. I always get so awkward, I don't know what to do. Thank you. I feel bad, because, but anyways, thank you guys. You're very nice. Have you about the mountain man Jim Brigger who had an arrow in his back? Yes, I have. I've read about some of those crazy accounts, and I was even reading when I was doing the arrow video. I was doing the arrow video about the barbed arrows. I was doing a lot of research, and then there was a story of oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, in Braveheart. Not Braveheart, but oh no. This is awkward now. Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce's son, in an engagement, he got shot with 2 arrows in the face, like here and here. And the one down here they were able to remove, but the one up top, the tip of it actually broke off. And I actually had a Fletcher, an arrow maker, reach out to me and say that when they would make the arrows, oftentimes the tips would be not as hardened steel, And so tips would break off in the body. So that's basically your look now, right? You're literally going to be rolling around with an arrow tip in your body until the end of days. And it's just a crazy thing to think about because, you know, being older, you have injuries, right? I've had ACL reconstruction and different things on my shoulder where I've had to have surgeries there. And like then you're not as good as you were, but you can still get relatively close. But back in the day, like you take a fall and you blow out your knee, or you take an injury and an arrow, like you're never gonna be as good as you were. So warriors had an incredibly short, you know, lifespan. Like it's like you have a very short time to be a renowned someone, or you get really lucky. But it just makes sense that that's going to be, you know, why you wear armor. You know, for me, obviously playing around, it doesn't make sense because I'm not worried about it. But if you were worried about catastrophic injury that would affect you the rest of your life, you would really want to be very careful. Yes, I agree. Healing wizards are fantastic. You need a healing mage at all times in your party, 100%. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Mine. Yeah, this one took a long time, and the hair took a long time. This has been about almost 3 years since I cut it. Hey, what's up, JJ? I always see your same thing, muscle signs. Oh, and so my wife is getting to the point where it's like, dude, if it gets longer than mine, we're gonna have a problem. And so she's kind of like bringing it up somewhat more frequently because I've never had it quite this long. And I'm like, oh, it's a character though, babe. I can shave the facial hair, but you can't get rid of the hair, you know. So she didn't want me to cut it off, just like maybe shorter than hers, I guess. But it was for similar to your, yeah. So it's fun. I really do enjoy the long hair, and so I'm married now for 15 years, so she's stuck with it at this point, you know. And you remember just starting draw weight on learning the longbows. So I would say when you're starting, if you have an archery shop near where you live, most of them have a range there. If they have a range there, you can ask to try out some bows. So I would say go there and say, hey, I'm new to this. Can I try and do can I try and loose some arrows, right? Can I try? And so they'll give you different weights. And based on that, then you can say, okay, I feel comfortable at 40 pounds, and then you can find a longbow at 40 pounds. Because most shops don't have longbows, especially in America, or United States rather. And so you want to try and find what one is a good one for you first. And then after that, once you've established that draw weight, then you can start to purchase those and say, okay, I want to try and, you know, get this 50-pound bow from here or here. And I also recommend as well, is don't buy like the extremely expensive bow right away if you're trying to build up from there as well. And so they have, like, I used it in a couple of videos. They have these like fiberglass bows from China. They're pretty miserable, but they're like bulletproof, right? And so I got one at the heaviest. It was like 120 pounds is the heaviest they made at that time. And so I used that, and you get massive hand shock. So you really want to wrap that up with like some extra like grip tape, or I use like I do cycling, so you have that handlebar tape. So you want to put that on there to give you a little bit more of a brace, because when that comes into it, like you feel it. But then once you get that figured out and you kind of got to a weight where you really enjoy, then you can go somewhere else. Fairbow is great. They make a good shop. They make a good bow, rather. Three Rivers Archery is pretty good, but it's more primitive recurve than longbow. Most of their longbows are not super great. They're just like, you know, hickory or bamboo, and they have like this linen backing on the front of it, so not super high quality. I wouldn't recommend getting bows from like medieval collectibles or anything like that, any of those popular sites as well, because they're not going to be fantastic either. So I would do some research. If you're stateside, some of the first bows I got from a guy named J. St. Charles, he made me my first 100-pound bow, and he made me a 130-pound bow. He was great, a really cool guy, and it was crazy because he actually started following me on my Facebook, my actual Facebook. There's like a fake one floating around out there with my name, but he friended me. I'm like, hey man, I remember you from back in the day, you know. And so he was very nice and everything. So there's some good places around. You just got to try and find it, and you're gonna have a lot easier time finding the lower pound ones as well than getting up to the hundreds. Because once you get up past 100 pounds, it's a lot more difficult to find a maker who can match that, and those do take more time. And so that's just something to be aware of as well. It's a much more niche thing. One of the bows I do have is one that Joe Gibbs made, which I'm really proud of. I paid for it. It's not like he gave it to me, but that was a flat bow. And so the flat bows are great because he actually reached out to me on Instagram like a while ago, and it took me a while to realize it was Joe Gibbs. And like a lot of people, it's like LeBron or Messi or whatever. I'm like, Joe Gibbs messaged me. I was so excited about that. I'm like, no way, this is actually Joe Gibbs. And he's like, hey man, you got to get a flat bow because they don't lose draw weight over time. I'm like, I would love that. And he's like, I can make you one. I'm like, sweet, let's do it. So he made me the 121 at 29-inch flat bow. And so that thing is amazing, and they're fast and so cool. Thanks guys, appreciate that. And so that was fun, but he's a one-man shop, right? So his bows take quite a bit of time. 140 yeoman from Faribault. Yes. So I actually talked to Faribault not long ago, and I was like, hey, I really want to get like a U bow. And that's one thing I don't have. All of mine are laminate. So it's like 2 pieces of wood, or sometimes 3 pieces of wood, but I've never had a full, true U bow. And so that's in the cards one day. Would love to have that. I probably would string it every now and then and take good care of it and everything as well. Usually fire guns, but and I want to go into the medieval. Hey man, that's great. I love it. That's so fun. I think that's one of the coolest things is a lot of the firearms guys, and I think probably once I do the unsubscribed one goes live, I'll probably get a few more that trickle over. But even them, they were like, hey, we love all things warfare, and when I was talking with them, they were like entirely engrossed, and they would like go off on tangents about firearms and things like that as well. And so I was like, oh, glutes, oh my God, I'm gonna ignore that one. What's your continuing on Kentucky Ballistics? Kentucky Ballistics is a giant fun goofball. I don't think he claims crazy things. He doesn't try to make judgment things. He doesn't try to retell history. He just gets a couple things and it's like, let's just smash them together really hard. And I think that I definitely resonate with that. I don't think he tries to like reinvent the wheel. He just seems like he likes to have fun. And that's my view on YouTube as well, as like I like to go out and have a really good time and try and make something funny, engaging, and interesting as well. I think he does that very, very well. I think a lot of people who are like true historians, it's like they react to him, but even them, I think a lot of times they end up just like enjoying the video. It's fun and it's funny, so it's like right up my alley as far as the stuff that I do. I don't like overly serious content. I think that in that realm, like Todd's workshop, I love though, because he really ferrets everything out and tries his best to create the best representation possible by getting the best skilled tradesmen in that field as well, where he got the javelin thrower to use the pilum, and when, obviously Joe Gibbs in there to use the bows. He's one of the ones that I admire just as far as archers. He's something I would aspire to be one day, even though, I'm already older, so I don't know if I can have heroes in that way. But all the building, bringing in armor experts and everything, that is like, I will watch that, and that's very close to like the best you can get, and I think it's a shame because it's like I think YouTube's changes in the algorithm, I feel like they're hurting his channel, I think that I see a lot of his videos and I always try to like, comment, watch to the end, right? Because I guess watch time's really important. And so I feel like they're not getting the same amount of exposure that they should as well. What's my favorite protein? Mead? I think you mean meal. I'm very bland chicken. I do chicken and egg whites a lot, so that's kind of what I stick with as far as I don't overdo it or overthink it. I keep it as it is. Okay, but that is 55 minutes, which means my kids' hours of video game. They get 1 hour. It's over. So I'm gonna go take them off I think they're playing Kirby right now. So I'm gonna go take them off and go do my dad's stuff. Thank you. Yes, I do archery with my kids as well. I love it. They're a lot of fun, but they get bored super fast. If you have kids, they'll be out there for like 10 minutes and it's like, meh, let's go wander off somewhere else, Yes, I read most of the Warhammer novels. No, God, no. That's the most incorrect statement I've ever said. I read the Horus Heresy series. I read a lot of the Primarch books. I read a lot of the other ones as well. The Inquisitor ones were great. But it was, it's just, there's so many, 450 books, I think. So there's a lot going on there. So those I enjoy. I listen to those when I go do cardio and stuff like that. Yeah, the Horus Heresy was great. I really enjoyed that as well. I read some of the ones about Rabute Gilliman as well. Plague Wars, I think it was. That was really good also. But I will see you gentlemen in the next video. I'll try to get one out this week, but I don't think it's going to happen just because I haven't had any time to film. So it'll probably go next week, but I'll keep you posted in the community tabs. If you follow on Instagram or whatever, I'll keep you updated there. So thanks so much, guys, for being awesome and making this the most fun thing extra. When's the next live stream? I will try and let you guys know. It's so random, but I promise I will try to give you at least a day in advance. All right, gentlemen, take care. You are awesome.